Hello, I want to celebrate the local area where we are just now, Kalamaja, the fish house for the whole world from the city of Tallinn. And the local values, what we are asking about, is it the perfect houses or is it the living standard that we have inherited from our grandmothers, grandmothers, or shall we import these ice cubes later on from China? The imitating living atmosphere is one thing that brings young people to live in the district of Kalamaja in the city of Tallinn. What is the value in this area? That is that the new inhabitants ask, do the old inhabitants know it? Actually, we are just now in the very center of the city of Tallinn, that is the capital of Estonia, and people go sledging here on the streets. We are 800 meters from the town hall square. That is a city of approximately 500,000 inhabitants. People are very enthusiastic here to reuse, even the youngest ones. And that is one of the values that we also want to see in the architecture, in the city planning, in the building. So if you have anything that you have over, reuse it. The other issue that local inhabitants are very much interested in is how do we use our streets? Do we use those only for cars, or do we have any other meaning for a street area as well? That is one of the areas where we are debating with the city planners, sometimes even with the city government. Of course, when you have a city district named Fish House, then you have lots of cats living in the same district. But it also is a question of city planning. How do you support having different animals, those who people do favor, and maybe even those that they do not favor every time. And I remember you, it is still a city. We are in the middle of city, having all the functions of the city. And we are talking about that different values. What is one of the biggest problems we face, not only the local inhabitants but also the architects and planners, is how do we meet the changing mode of living, the changing family models, the changing houses due to the changing family models. I think personally that very much we still have to learn from our grandmothers and grandfathers. This is a living area that they have created, and people come to live here today because of this type of living standards. Not very modern actually, but maybe this is the modernness of tomorrow. We are still in the same area. This is also Kalamaja, the fish house area, and everything here is, according to city planners, the same as we saw in the previous picture. The meter scale is the same, and you can also see the green areas, if you look very carefully, of course. It's not only the challenges of the city planners, but if you have an area of very many old houses, it's also a question for heritage protectors. How do we create heritage protection that is also a learning procedure? How do we keep these cheap living standards? And how do we keep a living standard that is good for old people and for children? I personally think that old is the new. Here we have a bell tower from an old cemetery. The cemetery is gone, but people like the area, not because it was the cemetery, but because we have kept the bell tower. One of the biggest problems or questions or challenges for the city of Tallinn is the water line. How do we create a water line that is different from the hundreds and hundreds regenerated water lines in the whole world? We haven't done much in that. This is a picture from a water line in the same area, fish house area, from the period before the Second World War. As you can see from here, it's a mixed inhabitants area. Rich people, poor people, small houses, big villas, and a seaside fortress, as you can see. The same fortress after half a century. The area has preserved its historic values due to the fact very much that during Soviet occupation time, the seaside areas were closed and were not very much invested in. That is the reason that very close to the very city center you still can see houses like that. It is actually less than 50 meters from the coast, from a beach, from a sand beach, in the middle of a capital city. There are still other questions when we talk about regeneration of waterline areas. For example, it has been used for ages for military purposes. Now we are living in a peaceful city. What shall we do with these military purposes that we don't use anymore? Shall we have only museums? The local inhabitants here are very, very enthusiastic about their own living area, and it's actually cars that joined us. The discussion with the city government about shall the cars be parking on the streets so that the city transport is a little bit more slower, or only in the yards. The local people thought that we want to keep this type of yards and have a transport quick enough, not a very quick traffic. Have a human scale, not just technical metric scale. Have rebuilding, not just historical monuments. What is the biggest value, I think, in this area is that people have learned to look out from their own windows and see the area that they see from the windows like a common living room. I like very much living here, and I would like to invite everybody, if you come to Tallinn, please visit also Kalamaja, the fish house area. Thank you very much.